What are altered states of consciousness? Now, the term itself probably conjures up images of 1960s hippie era, LSD, or venturing into the Amazon forest to take ayahuasca with a shaman and to experience all kinds of hypnotic visions and strange psychedelic experiences. Now, on a more mundane but perhaps more profound level, we are always moving through different states of consciousness every day, every 24 hours, from our waking, a normal quote-unquote state of consciousness, to sleep, daydreaming, or focusing intently on something, to other kinds of phenomenon such as highway hypnosis, where you become kind of entranced and fall asleep at the wheel of the car when you're driving along a monotonous stretch of highway. Now, the question, of course, is why do we have these altered states of consciousness? Because certainly if you look back over the last 200-300 years, the beginning of the modern era, you find that there's a very definite emphasis on rational thought, on rational thinking, and the ability or the perceived ability to be able to solve problems through rational thinking. Either individuals, geniuses such as Einstein, or coming together as a collective and thinking rationally about a problem and finding the solution through rational thinking and then being able to implement the solution, and ergo coming up with solutions to all problems. Of course, often when this has been tried, you get new problems arising. Now, this is not to say that is the fault of rational thinking. Now, if you dam a river and divert the river to maybe a nearby village, or to enable you to spray crops with water to enable the crops to grow, you may not predict that this would mean that you will get mosquitoes and then malaria, and then the whole area will become, in a sense, a no-go zone, and it will just become empty, as in fact has happened in many tropical areas, for example. That's not necessarily the fault of rational thinking, but rational thinking has its limits, and we kind of hang on to it as a fetish, that even some people will say things like, well, it is rational to think non-rationally in this circumstance, and it cannot be rational to think non-rationally, just as it cannot be non-rational to think rationally. Now, when are we applying these other states of consciousness, or even just experiencing them? Well, we need sleep, we need dreams, in a sense, to enable us to go through certain things that we've been thinking about. There may be other kinds of dreams, of course, but one of the functions of dreams, or some dreams, is to enable us to process different ideas and to make connections. Certainly often, not always, but often, when I have a particularly vivid or memorable dream, I can kind of relate what's been going on over the last few months and seeing how they're connected in a very strange way. So there's another more abstract way of thinking in dreams. Daydreaming, of course. It has been said quite rightly that all inventions, or at least most inventions, begin in daydreams, and that's the ability to visualize and to imagine, and then it could be applied maybe scientifically or in some other way, art, painting, dance, whatever it may be. And again, of course, painting, dance, the martial arts, none of these apply rational thinking. They all, in a sense, use altered states of consciousness, or different parts of the brain, or different parts of the consciousness. If somebody is striking you with a punch, obviously there is no time to rationally think about, well, I should step to the side and then I should move and block. So you practice that 1,000 times or 10,000 times until it becomes natural, and not only natural, but it becomes almost more than an instinct. It's automatic, completely automatic. And of course, this is the same with dance, it is the same with painting, it is the same with other things that are beyond rational thought. And most of our culture has been created to some degree or another through non-rational thinking, through other altered states of consciousness. The church, the mosque building with all of its tiles does not appeal to a rational side of us. It appeals to something non-rational. Now, to get back to the day, we are moving through these different states of consciousness, these up and down, focusing very intensely 1 minute, rational thinking, then going into a kind of daydream, maybe daydreaming while we're at work, let's say hopefully not, or daydreaming for a particular purpose, or we're relaxing, absorbing, maybe we're absorbed in a book. This again is a kind of hypnotic experience where we can block out the world around us, maybe not even hear what's going on when we're absorbed in this kind of thing. Now the question, of course, is why altered states of consciousness? Why do we need them? Why do they seem to be hardwired in us? And I would suggest in other animals as well, regarding us as part of the animal kingdom. Well, for human beings, it appears to be that we can do an awful lot in these altered states of consciousness, from being able to defend ourselves through martial arts, developing some degree of technical skill to a very, very high ability, to being able to imagine a future, a different future, to imagine beauty and how we can get more beauty in the world through architecture, art, even through dress or how we behave and so on. So these altered states of consciousness are a big part of how we can embody our techniques, how we can imagine a future, how we can push beyond ourselves, our egos, as it were, the small self, and envision something much greater and begin to implement it. But it's also a case that altered states of consciousness do allow inspiration to come through. They allow our internal mechanisms, which we cannot really evaluate on a rational level, to come through almost as a flash of inspiration, as the phrase may be. Now, of course, you have probably experienced, you try to think of a person's name and you think really, really hard about it. What was that person's name? And it just won't come. And then you walk off, or you relax, or you do something else, and it immediately comes to you, oh, that's their name. The minute you stop trying to think about it, it occurs, it comes out of the subconscious. For me personally, not all the time, obviously, but occasionally I'll be wrestling with something, some problem that I need to find a solution to. And, I'll just start meditating. Not connected to that, but just I'll begin to meditate. And instead of being able to go deep into meditation for a long time, instead the solution will come to me, or an idea will come to me, and I have to write it down. And that could happen several times in a meditation, which, yes, is annoying, but at the same time, it shows that once you really relax your being, something else can come through, something that's been working in the unconscious, the subconscious, in the back of the mind, is able to come through and come out. And for most people, this is inspiration or genius, but it's really this combining of rational thinking and of doing and of wrestling with problems and wrestling with things that we want to achieve, and then stepping back and relaxing and allowing things to kind of come through. And this sort of active and passive way of thinking is actually essential, and certainly it's really been known about in all traditional arts. There is a phase of learning, of studying, and then a state where you relax with what you're doing. Even if it's just painting, you're relaxing as you do it. So you allow something to come through. You're not really consciously making a decision about each brushstroke, for example, or how each brushstroke is going to go. And today we've become very much fixated on forcing ourselves to think rationally. You can think of Ayn Rand, the American, originally Russian philosopher, who believes that man is this rational animal and his job is to become productive. And that is fine. But in being productive, or I think a better word would be creative, you have to have these altered states of consciousness. You need the rational working hard at something, thinking about something intensely, but then you need to just step back and switch off and do something else or relax, and this will come through. You need things to go in and to come out. And we're very good at absorbing things. Think of social media, for example, and how much time we can waste on social media, but we're not very good at just allowing things to come out. Now, if I had a recommendation, I would say that, begin to tackle something, an art, a science, whatever it may be that interests you, a martial art, dance, whatever it may be, reading, studying philosophy, but then step back, practice meditation, or at least allow yourself to daydream, to switch off, and you will find that many of the solutions or ideas, your most creative time will be in this periods when you're not actually tackling it head on, as it were. Well, I'll be talking more about altered states of consciousness, meditation, hypnosis, spirituality, so check back. And until then, thanks very much.